morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines. Registration for the National Assembly by-election continues with new candidates on the fourth day. Armed gunmen launch an assault on the Indian consulate in the Afghan city of Herat, but diplomatic staff escape unharmed. Thailand's former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and some members of her family are detained by the army. And Russia's President Vladimir Putin says he will respect the outcome of Ukraine's upcoming presidential election. The General Administration for the Elections of the Interior Ministry announced today that 7 more candidates registered on the 4th day of the by-elections to the National Assembly in its 14th legislative term. The by-election is running within the 2nd, the 3rd and the 4th electoral districts for the election, which will take place on June 26th. Here is more on the registration in this report by Salim El-Kindari.
Registrations for the parliament elections, 7 candidates successfully placed their nominees for the by-elections of the 14th legislative term.
Yes, I'd like to announce today we conclude the 4th day for the supplemental election for the National Assembly. We received 7 candidates for the day. So the total for the 4 days, 44 candidates, male and females. I think 41 males and 3 females. So and the registration period will last until the 29th of this month. So all desire to nominate themselves attend the election department here.
So far, 44 candidates are registered within the 3 by-district. Among them are 3 females. The deadline for registration will fall on the 29th of this month. From the General Administration for Elections in Shuwaikh area, this is Salim Kendiri reporting for the English News.
Syrian tanks backed by massive air power rolled into a prison in the northern city of Aleppo on Thursday, breaking a year-long rebel siege and allowing Assad's forces to close in on a nearby rebel command center. Reports today said army units had regained control over a site where a law enforcement battalion was stationed north of the prison and tightened its grip on the adjacent areas, inflicting losses on the armed groups. Opposition fighters said they took control of the prison and its environs back in February when a suicide bomber blew himself up at the prison gates. Government forces immediately responded by dropping barrel bombs onto the area. Regarding the Palestinian reconciliation, sources said today that Rami Hamdallah, a Palestinian premier from the West Bank, will head the consensus government. Hamas from Gaza agreed on this as a step towards unity. Between internal and external pressure, the finalization of the unity government will see light next week, as Azzam al-Ahmed from the Fatah delegation will visit the Gaza Strip. More on this report with Majd al-Luhaidi from Gaza.
Contrary to initial reports, Mahmoud Abbas decided to give up the leadership of the next government. According to a Palestinian source in Gaza, Fatah and Hamas have agreed on Rami Hamdallah as the prime minister for the new unity government. The source said the new government will include 15 ministers from the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, but still didn't reveal any names. He added that Azzam al-Ahmed, the head of the Fatah Reconciliation Group, will visit Gaza next week in order to finalize consultations and approve the new government.
The visit will come to terminate forming a new national government. With this move, the political divide between West Bank and Gaza Strip will end. Eventually, we expect the government to see the light at the end of next week, or after a few days of it.
Hamas signed a reconciliation deal last month with the PLO in a surprise move, which aims to overcome years of a long intra-Palestinian split. Under the reconciliation deal, the two sides are to form an independent government of technocrats, paving the way for long-delayed elections. The April reconciliation agreement incensed Israel, who ended peace negotiations.
Nowadays, Palestinian people are looking forward to the government of national reconciliation and not a factional government in any way. The next government is a result of what was agreed upon in Cairo. We in the Palestinian People's Party support the national government, and we hope it does not have political representation for any faction at this stage.
Egypt country supports the Palestinian reconciliation. Meanwhile, analysts say that Egyptian elections may delay or affect in some way the announcement of the national government. In Gaza streets, the Palestinian reconciliation is a daily talk. People here are fed up with the long division. They have cautious hopes and are waiting for the promised change. Despite its progress, the Palestinian reconciliation still holds many tough questions. However, if you talk about this with anyone in Gaza, they will tell you that the will of the leaders and their honest commitment are the most important, no matter the odds. Majlou Haidi, Kuwait TV, Gaza.
Residents of a Baghdad neighborhood today surveyed the damage of a car bomb attack that killed at least 10 people and wounded 25 others. The attack, which took place in Baghdad's eastern Ur neighborhood on Thursday, killed 7 children under the age of 14. A wave of suicide and car bomb attacks in Iraq killed at least 29 people and wounded dozens more on Thursday, as political rivals prepared to launch negotiations on forming a new government after last month's national elections. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the attacks. Crowds gathered in Istanbul's Okmeydani district today, where a 30-year-old man who was a bystander attending a relative's funeral on Thursday was fatally shot as police clashed with protesters. 2 people have now died and several policemen injured since the unrest erupted in the working-class district on Thursday, stirring fears of further unrest as the anniversary of last year's anti-government demonstrations approaches. The Okmeydani unrest has so far showed little sign of spreading to other parts of Istanbul, including its central Taksim Square, an epicenter of last year's trouble, which has been guarded by a small contingent of riot police ever since. The man's funeral was due to be held in the district today and could become another rallying point for protests. Gunmen armed with machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades attacked the Indian consulate in western Afghanistan's Herat province today. According to police, at least 3 gunmen opened fire on the consulate from a nearby building. Police also said 3 assailants were killed in a gunfight that saw the building catch fire as authorities evacuated neighbors. An Afghan National Army commander at the scene said security forces suffered no significant casualties and that there had been no civilian casualties. Diplomatic staff working at the consulate escaped unharmed. Thailand's former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and several members of her family were today detained as leaders of the nation's military coup tightened their grip on power. Army Chief General Prayut Chan-o-cha also met key officials, telling them reform must come before any elections. Anwar Al-Khayyat has more in this report.
2 days after imposing martial law, Thailand's army announced on Thursday that it has taken control of the government. The military suspended the constitution, saying order was needed after months of chaos. The military imposed a nationwide curfew, banning political figures from leaving the country, censoring the media, and ordered all schools and universities to stay closed. Thailand's Army Chief Prayut Chan-o-cha says power after rival factions were unable to come up with a suitable agreement, raising fears of serious violence affecting the country's stability. Ousted Thai Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra has appeared earlier today at a military facility in Bangkok to hold talks with the army. She was dismissed as Prime Minister earlier this month in a controversial court ruling. The coup, which followed months of anti-government protests, has drawn widespread of international criticism. Japan described Thailand's coup as regrettable, calling for a democratic political system to be restored. Meanwhile, Australia also expressed concern and criticized the coup.
We are gravely concerned by the announcement by the Army Chief that the military have taken over the functions of government in Thailand. A curfew has been imposed, the constitution has been suspended, local media has also been suspended and only army media is being shown. And we are urging all Australians, if they're travelling there or if they're already in Thailand, to exercise a high degree of caution.
In the business forum in the Japanese capital, Tokyo, the Asian Secretary General noted that political situation in Thailand could affect the economic progress in Asia.
The lack or the absence of peace and stability of each member state would affect ASEAN as a whole. especially in its effort to achieve the target of establishing the ASEAN community by 2015. Thailand is one of I think the second biggest economies of ASEAN, and it has been one of the countries most advanced in integration process. So what is happening in Thailand, the political crisis that has been going on for half a year, of course, it affects ASEAN efforts in the process of being its community. The transport facilitation agreements.
A high-ranking UN official has said that Boko Haram is creating chaos in some parts of Nigeria. Saeed Djinnit, who has just returned from a trip to Nigeria in his capacity as Special Representative for the Secretary General and as head of the UN Office for West Africa, was speaking yesterday at a news conference in New York. He spoke about the growing suspicion of a link between terrorist groups and drug trafficking gangs operating in the area. His comments came as the UN Security Council officially declared Boko Haram a terrorist group linked to Al-Qaeda and imposed sanctions against the extremists who have carried out deadly attacks and recently abducted nearly 300 schoolgirls in Nigeria. Djinnit said that the UN is working with the education system in Nigeria to see what it can do to help improve security at schools. The International Criminal Court today sentenced Congolese warlord Germain Katanga to 12 years in prison for crimes including murder and looting committed during an attack on a village 11 years ago. Katanga became only the second person to be sentenced by the court in more than a decade of existence. Presiding Judge Bruno Cotti ordered that the 7 years Katanga had already spent in the ICC's detention centre should count towards his sentence. He can appeal the conviction. He was 24 when he participated in an attack on the Democratic Republic of Congo village of Bogoro in the northeastern Ituri region, during which about 200 civilians were killed. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he will respect the outcome of Ukraine's presidential elections. Speaking today in St. Petersburg, he said Russia was prepared to work with whoever was elected in Ukraine as Ukraine's president in Sunday's vote. The presidential elections were called after the last elected president, Viktor Yanukovych, was deposed in February amid mass protests against his pro-Russian policies. Putin's decision to accept the outcome of the election results, even if somewhat reluctantly, follows some of eastern Ukraine's deadliest violence, with at least 14 government soldiers killed in clashes with pro-Russia separatists in the Volnovakha area yesterday. Further clashes were reported today between pro-Russia separatists and self-defense fighters near the village at Karlikva in the Donetsk region, with reports of at least 2 people killed. The International Organization for Migration in cooperation with the Aware Center conducted the second symposium on the role of cultural diplomacy in women's rights, role and representation in today's world at the UN headquarters in Mishrif. There were a number of prominent guests attending the event, including Massoum Al-Mbarak, who is a former member of parliament. More on this with our correspondent Rinwa Japouri.
Women in Kuwait have long enjoyed liberty and freedom. Kuwaiti women are in political positions, ministers, parliamentarians, academics, researchers and business entrepreneurs. In fact, there are a number of Kuwaiti women who have created an international niche for themselves, where they are well respected and appreciated for their immense achievements, humanitarian initiatives and economical and business contributions.
Today's event is talking about the women rights and role in the current affairs, and we spoke about the Kuwaiti political situation for women and also Muslim women in the West. Especially we use the Britain case, and we talked about IOM role globally on how to provide women, especially migrant women moving from country to country because of natural disasters or because of conflicts, and the difficulty, the challenges she's facing through her travel.
Regarding the Kuwaiti women in politics, of course it's clear right now Kuwaiti women has the right to run for election, but of course this is up to the voters to give their vote to the women, or they feel that still the woman doesn't deserve their votes. And we have really to work hard on this to make better awareness among the voters, whether they are men or women, to give their confidence, their votes to women when they run for election. Regarding the women in the cabinet of ministers, unfortunately, still the number between 2 and 1 as a minister, and we are hoping and calling for the Prime Minister to, whether this Prime Minister or any Prime Minister, to give more chances to Kuwaiti women, qualified Kuwaiti women, to have the position in the cabinet as minister.
The second symposium, conducted by the Advocates for Western Arab Relations, commonly known as Aware Center in cooperation with the International Organization for Migration, discussed various issues pertaining to women's rights. Several women delivered heartfelt speeches, including former MP Masuma Al-Mubarak, who explained that women in Kuwait need to remain updated and current, as recent years witnessed many changes in the laws in favor of women. Indeed, women have travelled a long distance, but their zeal and passion to support change and help to improve women's rights in every way possible is a warm sentiment which many appreciate. One should never stop striving for the better, as stated by Women Voices. The role of cultural diplomacy in women's rights, role and representation in today's world is a discussion that just wrapped up, which witnessed several speakers raise important issues that can help to support change and development. From the UN headquarters in Mishref, I'm Gena Jaburi reporting to you for the English News.
Under the patronage of Kuwait Petroleum Corporation, the American Society of Safety Engineers Kuwait chapter organizes annual award ceremony for its prestigious GCC HSE Excellence Award 2014 at the Kuwait Hilton Resort. The non-profit voluntary organization's Kuwait chapter launched this evidence-based award in 2009, which showcases successful business models of private sector companies in the Gulf region that uphold health, safety and environment, or HSE management, as a business value and excellence in performance. An exhibition was held on the sidelines featuring leading companies in the petroleum, fire, health and safety industries. Sarah Glove was there with this report.
The American Society of Safety Engineers, or ASSE, Kuwait chapter hosted their annual gathering to recognize and reward the winners of the ASSE Gulf Cooperation Council HSE Excellence Award for 2014.
In this event, we have the award program, which is awarding the excellence performance of the private companies for their good performance in health, safety and environment. And in fact, we are doing this every year, and this is the 6th time for this award program. We have conducted more than 150 private companies in Kuwait and in the region, and 15 of them from outside Kuwait, the others from Kuwait. And the companies that meet the specification and criteria were around 75 companies. 38 of them, they win the excellence of the award.
What we are organizing tonight is the end of the achievements that all the private sector companies which are participating in our award program, these companies who won the gold award, the silver award and the bronze award will be awarded tonight. It is a day of celebration. It's an evening of celebration.
This event, it's an opportunity to show that Kuwait, with the oil sector representatives and also with all people who are working, private sector or governmental entity, they are taking care of HSE. And it's part of their daily work, and caring about their people, their workplace is on their top priority.
Under the theme You Perform, We Recognize, ASSE also announced the Safety Professional of the Year, or SPY, award for 2014, which is awarded annually to the most outstanding chapter member.
The objective of our award is to celebrate and recognize their HSE achievements in one a common platform. Our award categories: manufacturing, maintenance, oil and gas, and sector. Our winner categories: gold, silver, bronze, and merit.
Actually, ASSC Kuwait chapter, being a non-profit organization, we are working for members as well as for the private sector and government sector in Kuwait region as well as in the GCC. So as part of enhancing HSC culture and HSC performance in private sector of GCC area, so we introduced this award back 6 years back, and now it's well received by the all private sector companies in GCC.
It's a pleasure because this award is for the recognition of my hard work for the last 22 years in the field of HSC. And this is special because this has been given by my colleagues and it is based on my performance in my field for the last 22 years. The award is evaluated based on my recommendation from my company and also the colleagues who have evaluated me. So it's really special.
This year, ASSC also presented new special awards, including the Best Management of Driving Safety Award, the Best HSC Management Initiative Award, and the Best Debut Award. In pursuit of their endeavors in protecting people, property, and the environment, the American Society of Safety Engineers held this annual awards ceremony to celebrate and honor the winners of their GCC Health, Safety, and the Environment Excellence Awards 2014. That witnessed participation from over 70 countries from throughout the GCC region in its 6th edition. From the Kuwait Hilton Resort, this is Sarah Glubb reporting for English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. Registration for the National Assembly by-election continues with 7 new candidates on the 4th day. Armed gunmen launch an assault on the Indian consulate in the Afghan city of Herat, but diplomatic staff escape unharmed. Thailand's former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and some members of her family are detained by the army. And Russia's President Vladimir Putin says he will respect the outcome of Ukraine's upcoming presidential election. Thank you for joining us.